Kilted here. Look, today we are going to actually work on one of the ones out of my personal collection. This is a Remington Nylon 66, right? Now, this one, once again, is mine, personal one, and I haven't shot it in quite a while. And if you take a look, I've got just a little bit of rust here on the end of the barrel, so I wanted to tend to it while I was cleaning up the area of my collection anyways, right? Then I got to scouring around on the interwebs and realized there wasn't really a good instructional video on how to disassemble these. So I'm going to do my best to make it, okay? So first thing we always do is make sure that the weapon's not loaded. We're going to pull that charging handle back. We're going to visually inspect nothing's in the chamber, right? And nothing's in the ejection port. Now this 22 is loaded from the buttstock, right? So we just pull that out. Now that is brass, right? So that's going to be cleaned up and brought up to a little bit better of a shine. Now, to get into this is very simple, but also if you screw it up, bad things will happen, because what makes this thing so great is pretty much the entirety of this gun is made out of this polymer, right? Once this polymer cracks, it's done. It's over with. We can try to fix it, repair it, and I've had decent luck a little in the past with it, but it's not a guaranteed thing, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get a properly sized screwdriver. I've talked about this on this channel many times, right? So I'm not going to go over a properly sized screwdriver again. And what we're going to do is we are going to unscrew these two screw heads, right? Simple enough. Then we are going to remove those two screws, right? You can see just how thin these are, right? Now, you don't have to worry about remembering front, back, so on and so forth. You don't have to worry about that, right? Now, you can sit here and see that the receiver's wobbling, right? No, it's not. This isn't the receiver. This is the receiver cover. And it will slide straight up, except we've got to get the bolt handle out. So with it, you can just get it, and it'll come right out, okay? Don't ever try to pull it out straight up here at the very front of the cutout, because oftentimes, this is just plastic as well, but oftentimes what will happen is right here at the front of it, a groove will start getting cut out from the front of the receiver cover. Now we're going to hold that receiver cover down, and I'm going to flip it over, right? You can see here two holes. Those two holes coincide with the end of the screw heads, okay? So these do not come off. That's a good thing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set the gun up like so, and we're just going to lift the receiver. Oh boy! Look at all of that. I am actually embarrassed to sit here and say that this is my gun, right? Oh boy! Now, I let a friend of mine borrow this, and he told me he cleaned it. Obviously not. Now, what I always do is just go ahead and put the weapon on safe if it's not already. What you're going to do is here towards the front, right? You're just going to sit here and flip this up, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that portion that you just flipped up, you're going to move it rearward just slightly, okay? Just slightly, just to check, make sure that everything is nice and clear and dandy, right? Now flip the gun over. And then we're going to sit here and unscrew this. And keep up with that. Now, why do we always check this, right? Because back here in the back, this is your hammer, essentially. It's striker fired, basically. So what happens is when the trigger is squeezed, this is released and is able to impact on your firing pin. Okay, so I always like to kind of grab it and, like I said, move it, because if that will fall just in this little bit of movement, that means we've got some other troubles inside, right? So now we got that. I kind of hold it back with my thumb. Then take your barrel and just rotate it, right? So all I'm doing is grabbing the front of it and just twisting it slightly, right? You'll notice when you do that, this little locking block starts to move upward, right? Since it's moved upward a little bit, we can remove the barrel. Now the barrel's out, we can try to remove, there it goes, the barrel locking lug, right? Now, something important on here, some of these are marked front and back. Some of them are not, okay? This one is not. So we are going to have to keep in mind that this side was back, right? Now back to this. We're going to sit here, grab this again, and just pull forward and up, and ta-da, there's our bolt. Here is our bolt, recoil spring, and guide rod. But this is the most important part, or not most important, but a very important part that most people will lose and forget and that kind of thing, right? Gun will not work very properly with this. This is your ejector, okay? It only goes in one way, so don't worry about it. And the only thing that holds it in is the receiver shell, right? So when this thing's clean, that'll just fall right out. Now, this is as far as you need to go for cleaning, okay? This is it. Now, with these nylons, I do not put these in a sonic cleaner at all, okay? The metal bits, yeah, I can put in a sonic cleaner and they'll be fine. The stock, I do not put in a sonic cleaner, all right? So, I'm going to pause this, clean everything up, run all the metal bits through the sonic cleaner, and get back to you here in just a minute. Oh, and just to let y'all know, what I use to clean the nylon is just ballistol. Be careful with what you use to clean, because some cleaners can eat away at this nylon, right? And it'll lose its structural integrity. Okay, so we got everything nice and cleaned up, right? The barrel is nice and clean inside and out, but I'm going to take this time, since this barrel's out, to show you something, right? Never, ever dry fire rim-fired cartridges, okay? Because you see the firing pin right here, right? Right there, okay? When this is flipped forward, and it's hard to sit here and show on camera and all that fun stuff, it moving, right? There, it wiggles a little bit. When you dry fire, that piece of metal is going to impact the side of the chamber. And what's going to happen is it's going to move material into the chamber, right? So it'll kind of look like a zit sitting out there to the side or on the top or wherever it is on that model of 22, right? So never ever dry fire, because if you do, then you're going to have problems with the rounds going in, right? And rounds coming out. And then you're going to have to sit here and pay a gunsmith like me to use a tool known as a 22 chamber iron, which basically is a piece of hardened steel that I sit here and shove into this and twist to mush that metal back out, and then polish the chamber and reassemble the gun. Then what you can also have is the firing pin can actually break, right? Plain and simple. And then you're having to sit here and replace it. An ounce of maintenance is worth a ton, okay? Now, to reassemble all of this, it is really quite simple, but this is the most difficult part. So you're going to put the spring in and its guide rod, right? That guide rod goes into the back of the bolt. So I've got to sit here and finagle and get it in there, right? Then you're going to push rearward all the way. Sometimes this will stop right here, okay? What that basically means is if you got something that's kind of in the way, right? Pull it back out, try again, okay? But now we've got that all the way back. We're going to slowly ease it just a little bit forward, just to where it's flush right here, okay? Then we're going to take our block, right, our barrel block, right? We remember which way says front, which way says back. We're going to slide it in, but not all the way. We're going to take our barrel. We're going to reinstall it, okay? So this needs to go down just a little bit more. Then it slides in. Lock it down, okay? There it goes, right? Flip that forward. Then what I do, just to go ahead and make sure that it's not going to move, is I go ahead and put this screw in. Now with any screw, you don't need to over tighten. I know I've said this in other videos, but do not over tighten your screws, okay? Now that we've got all that done, we can sit here and take our cover, right? And put it on. It slides on just like so. Oh, we got a little piece of fuzz there. There we go. Then we can take our screws and I just set them in there. That's all I do for right now. Then I take my bolt handle, reinsert it. That works. But look at what I have forgotten. Right? That's why you don't want to tighten those down. Now once again, this will only go in one way. Several people have sat here and told me in the past they've been able to put them in backwards, but if you have to force it to make it go in, something ain't right. Alright, now we sit here, we just tighten these down. Once again, do not over tighten, okay? Pretty much when it stops is when I stop. Because once again, you don't want to break these stocks. Hell, the stocks are oftentimes worth more than the guns themselves. Now we just take the magazine tube, put it in, and that is it. So let's reset a couple of cameras and we are going to sit here and discuss the history of this a little bit, okay? Okay, so a little history on this, right? Over 1 million of these guns were produced between 1959 and 1989 to 90, okay? So for 30 years, over 1 million. These were a very popular firearm, okay? Well, let's sit here and talk about the history. So, in the late 50s, Remington Arms was interested in designing a cheaper product to produce, right? All the government contracts that had ended after World War II, all that fun jazz. So they needed something that they could produce, that people would buy a few of, and make money, right? So what they did is they went to DuPont, right, which is a chemical company, and asked them to come up with some type of plastic that could replace the wooden stock and receiver, right? They were mostly after a wooden stock, right? But they'd be willing to go with the full receiver because Stevens in their 410-22s actually came out with a bit of a plastic stock that was called a T-Nite, T-E-N-I-T-E stock. Once again, everyone, if you don't remember, my notes are over here off camera. So if you see me looking down, that's my notes. Okay? So yeah, Remington went to him and went, hey, we need at least a wood stock. We'd like to replace the receiver as well with some type of plastic. They gave him some specs that basically the plastic needs to be formed into any shape, have a high impact and flexual strength, right? And DuPont spent a little bit of time and came back with a product they called Zytel 101. Zytel is nothing more than DuPont's name for nylon resins. Nylon. Right? Now, this compound was ultimately used for the stock and the receiver, right? Of course, not the receiver plate, right? And they put it out on market, and these were some of their big selling points. So this originally sold for $49.95, brand spanking new. Something else they sent here and stated was this gun unloaded is only 4 pounds, right? But which was unheard of in the 22 market back then, especially a semi-auto 22. And they also claimed that even though there's plastic on here, which granted I know it's not actually plastic, but you had no change in accuracy, right? It's just as accurate is what they said. I have never heard of anyone complaining about the accuracy of their Nylon 66 here, but just to tell you how successful this gun was, they also started a series of bolt action and lever action rifles with the same nylon stock. Now, something else that they said here and said, I don't like doing it just because I'm old-fashioned, but I have read several reports of people in Arctic conditions using it, taking this advice, and that is, since it's synthetic, it's a nylon, you don't need lubricants. So yeah, if you're going to go out and go hunting, right, when it's below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, right, below 0 degrees Celsius, right, then yeah, lubricants tend to gum up, right? Ask the Frozen Chosen, okay? So yeah, now there are as well as several reports, do not do this. I say again, do not do this, of some of the indigenous people in Canada and Alaska and those places using this to take down large game like moose. A moose with a 22 long rifle. Talk about shot placement. That's all I got to sit here and say. Now, the stocks came in 3 different colors, and the metal bits came in 2 different colors. So the most popular is what we have here. This is called the Mohawk Brown with blued steel. They also came out with a green called like a cyan green with a blued stock. Then they also came out later with the Apache black stock, and most of those have a chrome receiver cover and chrome barrel, right? So, and those are really marketed for people in humid areas, things of that nature, because the chrome would help prevent rust and yada yada yada, so on and so forth. Now there was as well in a store called Kmart. For some of you that are watching the videos, Kmart was kind of like Walmart, but better, but not quite as nice as Target is now, okay? So it was right there, the happy medium, okay? But Kmart actually had a version that was in the cyan green called the 77 Apache, right? They were the only ones to do it. And this version was also made with a 10-round detachable magazine, in contrast to this, right? But was often unreliable and was not as popular, okay? Now, a copy of this was also made by a company called FIE in Brazil. But they, as with all of FIE's stuff, had quality control issues, right? Now, these could cycle through, they claimed, when these were new, these could cycle through hundreds of rounds without cleaning, provided high velocity ammunition was used. So good quality ammo running through this, you can go through hundreds of rounds without cleaning it, is what they claimed. This isn't new anymore, right? Like mine doesn't have a serial number on it, so that's pre-1960, 64 or 68. I always get those confused. I always get them flip-flopped. But yeah, with variants, I can go through that briefly. You had the 66MB, by which is Mohawk Brown, blued steel receiver and barrel. Those were made from 59 to 87. The Nylon 66GS was a gallery special, chambered in 22 short only, and had a brass deflector. Okay? And a few other things. The SG was the cyan green from 59 to 62 with a blued receiver and barrel. Only 42,500 of the ones in green were ever made. Those are some of the rarest ones when you're sitting here talking about the Nylon 66. Okay? Then you had the AB, by which Apache Black from 62 to 84. You had the DB, which was the Black Diamond, which ran from 78 to 87. Black stock blued receiver and barrel. Began numbering this. After 1968, serial numbers were located on the left-hand side of the Nylon 66, stamped in the metal receiver cover, right? So yeah, that's it. These are, once again, extremely fun. I have seen in the past, and I wish I could find the company that actually made them, to where they actually started making these stocks out of wood, right? I've seen two in my lifetime. Remington never made them, but I have seen quite a few of these come in to where it's broken right back here, or all up here is just shattered, right? And the guns pretty much can't be shot anymore because no one's making reproduction nylon stocks, right? If you want to get into that, hey, let me know, right? Plain and simple. So, as always, we are going to sit here and load up a little bit and go outside and shoot it. And I'm also going to probably show off a new toy that I bought. So, see you in a minute. Okay, so the new little toy is this Bog Death Grip tripod, right? Now, granted, do I need it for a 22? No. But what I love about this is I have had this for a couple of weeks. I have shot 12 gauge with 3-inch slugs, and it did not hurt my shoulder. And I also have shot 300 Win Mag, did not hurt my shoulder. So, with that being said, we've got 10 rounds in it, okay? Let's just sit here and shoot. Loosen this. There we go. And there we go. That is it. So as always, whenever you're test firing, I know this is just a 22, but whenever you're doing any type of shooting, have hearing protection, okay? Because a lot of the people that sit here and say, it's just a 22, you don't need to wear no hearing protection, it ain't that loud, are the same people that listen to their television at, you know, a level that your neighbors 3 miles down can hear it. So anyways, I hope y'all have enjoyed and y'all have a good one.